Hi guys, welcome to another Divi theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. We got a great one for you today. We're going to show you how to add a button over any module. We've got an image here, click on it, light box. Somebody asked if we could put a button over it so people actually know to click on it. Really easy to do. We've done the same thing here with a blur module. If I roll over, a little read more button's going to pop up the bottom here, same with that one. And we've done the same thing for some little counter modules here. We roll over them, a little more information button's going to pop up. Really easy to do. So let's get started. I'm going to enable the Visual Builder. Okay, once enabled, let's go down to where we want to work. I'm going to add a new row, little green button to add a new row. I guess I'll use 2 columns again. And let's pop us an image in here. And like I say, the original question was how to add a button over your image so people know to click on it to see the light box or take them to whatever link you want to. So I've got an image here. Let's go click on the placeholder and we'll add our own image. We'll just pop that one in. Great, so I've got an image there. If we roll down, we've got a link underneath. Now you can either choose to open it in a light box, or you can take people somewhere else by putting a URL down below here. Always best practice, if you're linking to your own site, leave it in the same window. If you're linking off-site, open it in a new tab. That way your site's going to stay open. For this particular example, I'm going to open it in a lightbox, and later on I'll show you how to add this to any other module too. Okay, well we've got our little image there, and it's going to open in a lightbox when I click on it. Let's write a bit of code. I'm going to go over to the advanced. Custom CSS. I'm going to roll down. I'm going to use mine in the after pseudo element here, which means it'll pop it on top of our little image there. Okay, well what do we want? Well, we want to add some content. So let's say content, colon, and then if we open some inverted commas here, inside we can write what we actually want it to say. So let's say click me, or whatever it is you want your button to say. I don't know if you can see that, but it's actually put it in the bottom left corner there. It's saying click me over there. Let's put a little semicolon on the end there. If you don't put a semicolon on, it won't read the next line. Okay, well I want this to stay where we're going to put it in a minute. So I'm going to say position, colon, absolute. And I want mine kind of halfway down from the top and halfway along, so basically it's dead center of our image right there, and that'll be the same for all devices. So I'm going to say top 50%, and I'm going to say left 50% also. Now I don't know if you can see that. Like I say, it's right there, but it's not dead central. The top left corner of it is absolutely central, but the word's sort of going from there. So we need to bring it back half of its length and half of its height to get it dead central. Put a little semicolon in. I'm going to use transform, translate for this. It just means move basically. And we'll have some round brackets right at the end of there with no gap. Well, I'm going to say minus 50% and minus 50%. That'll center it width-wise and height-wise. So I'm going to say negative 50%. I got to put a comma. I'm going to say negative 50% again. And that's pulled that into the middle there. Like I said, I don't know if you can see it. Let's give it a color that we can see a bit better. To do that, I'm going to say color. I'm going to make mine white. Make yours whatever color you want. FFF is CSS3 for white. That's a little bit better. Looks like we've got a capital L there. I don't want a capital L. Let's make that a lowercase l. There we go. To make it look more like a button, we can give it a background. So let's give it background. And make it whatever color you want. For argument's sake, I'm just going to say blue here. You can give it hex color, RGBA, whatever you like there. But we've not got much padding to show off that background color. So what I'm going to do is give it some padding, and that color will show up. So I'll say padding. Let's give it perhaps 20 pixels top and bottom, or let's give it 20 pixels all around. So 20, just px, and that'll give it 20 pixels all around. Once I put that in, it's going to show that button up just like that. Now, if you want to do separate width and height, just put in another value. And let's say 10 pixels, not going to be enough. And it's now got 10 pixels left and right, 20 top and bottom. That actually works quite well for me. I'd like to see a little more left and right. So let's say 15 pixels top and bottom and 20 pixels left and right. To me, that's more sort of buttoning. And you can do round corners by giving a border radius if you want to. I'm going to leave mine just like that. Now we notice when we roll over this, we've got our little pointer icon there. But when we go on the button, it changes back to normal. So I'm going to say pointer events none. That way we'll have that pointer go through to the image through that button. So pointer events colon none. Now when we hover over it, we've still got our little hand icon there. Great. Well, I only really want to see that when they hover over the image itself. So I'm going to say opacity 0, which will make it disappear completely. Opacity 0. Opacity is sort of transparency or see-throughness. As you can see, opacity 0 is invisible there. But when they hover over, I want to bring it back. So I'm going to copy my opacity 0 there. I'm going to go over. This is common to all Divi modules. If you hover over dark writing within a module, you'll see some little icons pop up. If there's an arrow there, we can set a desktop state when the mouse is not on it, basically what we're seeing at the moment, and a hover state when the mouse is on it. When the mouse is on it, I've clicked on the little arrow there. I'm going to paste that opacity in there, Control V to paste. I'm going to change it to 1, so it brings it back. So when the mouse is on it, that's what we're going to see. When it's not, that's what we're going to see. Now the time it takes as we're doing this with code is absolutely instant to change from desktop to hover state. I want to slow it down so it just fades in a little bit. So I use a little bit of transition duration for that. Transition dash duration. And I'm going to make mine 0.7 of a second, 0.7s. Obviously, you make yours as faster or slow as you want. Obviously, the lower value is going to make it faster, higher value is going to make it slower. Great. Well, if we've done everything correctly, that should work for us now. Let's save our changes. Hit the little purple button at the bottom. We'll save draft or publish if you're ready. And let's exit the Visual Builder. There's our little image. If we hover over, that button's going to take 0.7 of a second to pop in. And we can click on it and lightbox out. Now I notice when I rolled over this image, we've got this crazy number here. That's actually the title of the image. If you don't want to see that, I'll show you how to get rid of it in a moment. I'll also show you how to apply this to any other module and position it elsewhere. Let's do that. Let's re-enable the Visual Builder. And we'll go down to get rid of that crazy number that appears when you hover over it, that one. Let's go back into this module, dark tab for the module. And if you go over to Advanced, this is with the image module itself. Go down to Attributes. There's the name. You can either change it to something pertinent if you do want to see it, or select it and delete it if you don't want to see anything at all. Great. Well, let's apply this to a new module. While we're in here, let's go over to our Advanced, to our Custom CSS. Let's just copy this piece of code that we wrote here. And I'll put this down below for anybody that just wants to copy and paste it. Control C to copy. And we'll save this. Let's add a different module. Let's perhaps use a blurb or something like that. I'm not going to do anything to this blurb module. Obviously, put your title and content in there. I'm going to use an icon for this, perhaps. Flip the icon switch on. Let's just use that one right there. If I move this over, you'll be able to see what's going on. There we go. I'm going to pop that text into the middle by going over to Text under Design. Popping it into the middle there. Okay, here's the important part. If you want the button to link to somewhere, which I'm sure you do, under Content, that's always where you'll find Link. Go to Link. module link right there. You can put one in for the title if you want, but in the module link, put in whatever URL you want to take your visitors to there. That way, when we put a button, that is where it's going to take it when they click on the button. Great, so now we've done that. We can go over to our advanced here, to the custom CSS, roll on down. Again, go into the after, we'll paste that code that we just copied, Control V to paste. And you need to remember, the button's hidden by default. So we need to copy the opacity there, Control C. Roll up over till you get your little icons up there. Hit the arrow. Get the hover state up. Put your opacity in there and change it to 1. And that's in completely the wrong place for here. So we need to pop it down on the bottom. So to make that work correctly, what I'll do is I'll give it a little bit of extra padding on the bottom and we'll shift our button down there. Just so we can see exactly what's going on, I'm going to go back to my desktop. You don't need to do this unless you want to see what's going on at all. We're going to change that opacity to 1 so the button's there all the time so we can see it. That top, I'm going to change to bottom. That's where I want the button, on the bottom. Colon 0. So it's right on the bottom there. And now let's go into our spacing under design and we'll give it a bit of extra spacing on the bottom. Let's perhaps give it 100 pixels. As you can see, that's now down below there. Now, if you didn't want to give it that much space on the bottom, you could give it 50 pixels. And we can move the button down by going into the advanced, custom CSS, down to our bottom there. And we can give it a negative position. Let's say negative 50 pixels. And you can move it down that way. It's either or. There's two ways of doing that if you didn't want that much space on the bottom. Now we just need to change that back. We can change the size of that button if you want to, by changing the padding, the coloring right there. And of course the content in the button, you can just change it. Make sure you don't cut off those little inverted commas up there. And let's see, or information, or whatever you want to put in yours. Fantastic. Now, before we get out of here, we need to remember to change that opacity back to 0 so that button disappears until we hover over it. So we'll put a 0 in there. Remember, in the hover state, we've got it set to 1, so it'll come back like that. So let's save our changes here, make sure everything's going to work. Little purple button. Save draft or publish if you're ready. And let's go up and exit the Visual Builder. Roll on down. We know that first one's going to work. We tried that just now. And our second one, when we hover over it, that button's going to appear at the bottom. Or we can roll on it, click, and it'll take us wherever the link. Mine was just a hashtag, so it goes to the top of the page there. And remember, you can add that to any module you want and just reposition the button by copying that code. And remember to put the opacity in the hover state too. So there you go, guys. There's how to add a button to any module you want. Here we've got it on a blurb. And here we've got it on a little countdown timer. Really useful little thing to know. So I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, ring the bell, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget, if you've got any questions, pop them below the video. I'll do my best to answer them for you, or make a little demo video like this one. Once again, this has been Jamie with System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.